Let's turn our attention to a seemingly humble one-penny piece that, under the right light and in the right hands, can command astonishing attention and prices. While most of us associate a penny with everyday transactions and the jingling in our pocket, the 2006 one-penny issue carries secrets that push it well beyond its face value. In the next few minutes, you'll discover how a minor strike variation and an unassuming minting error can transform that copper-plated disc into a true collector's grail. Think back to the mid-2000s when change in your pocket felt practically weightless. Yet, in the quiet corners of the collector's world, word began to spread about a pair of oddball pennies minted in 2006 that didn't quite match the roll-fresh examples you handed over at the store. At first glance, these pieces look like any other modern penny, but under magnification, they reveal a tale of misaligned dies, off-center strikes, and doubling so crisp it seems almost intentional. We'll peel back the layers of metal and history to see how these anomalies came to be, how to pinpoint them in your own collection, and why auction houses have been locked in spirited bidding wars over well-preserved examples. The story begins at the Royal Mint's Llantrisson facility in Wales, where the 2006 penny was produced in the millions for general circulation. Normally, each planchet moves smoothly through a tightly controlled production line, blanking, annealing, cleaning, and finally striking between two hardened dies bearing the portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on one side and the familiar portcullis top design on the reverse. But on a handful of planchets that year, the die alignment slipped by a fraction of a millimeter. That tiny shift is all it takes for a beautiful off-center strike, part of the design missing, part of the plain metal showing where the die never reached. What makes the 2006 off-center penny so compelling is how scarce those misfeeds were relative to the total mintage. Estimates suggest fewer than 500 of these off-center varieties survived collection rather than being detected and melted down during quality control. In practical terms, that means you might go your entire life handling pennies without ever spotting one. Yet, once you know what to look for, a truncated queen's portrait, a crescent of blank metal where the portcullis should stand, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Under close examination, the defining feature is that blank crescent on one side and the corresponding doubled-over design on the other. The queen's cheek, or the lower part of her tiara, might be clipped, while the mint date, or the lower half of the reverse motif, seems to float free of its usual frame. That unclipped sliver of planchet edge is a dead giveaway that you have an off-center strike in hand. If the misalignment is particularly dramatic, say more than 2 millimeters off, you may also find partial impressions of nothing but flat metal. Each penny's degree of offset creates a sort of fingerprint. No two examples are precisely alike. Auction records bear out the excitement. In early 2024, a well-centered, 2mm off-center 2006 penny in mint state sold for over £1,200 hammer price, almost 50 times what a flawless, perfectly struck circulation strike might achieve in a collector's sale. A slightly more truncated example, with about 3 millimeters of blank planchet and light surface marks, fetched £850. Those results marked a clear uptick from just a few years earlier, when off-center modern pennies would scarcely crack 4 figures. The premium comes down to condition and degree of error. The cleaner the surfaces and the more dramatic the misalignment, the steeper the bidding. Beyond the off-center rarities, another error lurks. A subtle doubling of the date and lettering known as a die doubling or repunched mint mark effect. In these pennies, a secondary strike of the date digits appears faintly offset behind the primary figures. It takes a sharp eye or a modest loop. 10 power is ideal to spot the slight shadow of the earlier impression. That doubling can boost value too, though typically less dramatically than a bold off-center strike. A mint state example of the double date variety might bring £200 to £300, depending on the crispness of the doubling and the overall surface quality. Collecting seasoned pieces like these tends to be a balancing act between rarity and condition. On the one hand, a flawlessly preserved, brilliant red penny with deep original luster will always attract serious bids. On the other, a well-documented error of high degree can outshine perfect condition. If you find a piece with both a bold, off-center strike on a pristine planchet, you may be sitting on what auctioneers call a holy grail of modern British errors. Take note, circulation where quickly erodes the sharpness of the missed strike, so pennies graded as about uncirculated or lower typically command a fraction of the mint state prices. To illustrate the difference, imagine three tiers of condition. At the top, mint state 65 or higher, where the surfaces are nearly flawless and contact marks are minimal. These can sell in the four-figure range if the off-center error is significant. The next tier, mint state 60 to 63 or negative 50 Australian dollars, sees light handling and faint bag marks. Off-center pieces here often land between £400 and £800. At the bottom, VF20 or EF40, the details are still clear, but where is obvious? These may be worth £150 to £300, depending on the misalignment. Each grade step can have, or double the market value. So, understanding the Sheldon scale and working with a reputable grading service is crucial for serious collectors. The human stories behind these pennies add another layer of fascination. One collector, a retired engineer, discovered a 2mm off-center penny in his change while buying tea and biscuits at a local cafe. He posted a photo to a numismatic forum, thinking he'd simply have something neat to share. Within days, offers rolled in, and he eventually traded it for another rare coin plus a tidy cash sum, enough to fund his next collecting adventure. Another example emerged in a charity tin meant for small change. The finder almost missed the clipped portrait until a fellow collector pointed it out. That coin now resides in a private collection in Scotland, its journey from loose pocket change to prized rarity emblematic of the thrill that accompanies error hunting. Expert collectors often recommend targeting unsearched lots from 2006, uncut sheets, registry packs, or small change accumulation straight from bankrolls. While online auctions and coin shows remain prime hunting grounds, sometimes the best finds come from local cash transactions. Keep a magnifier in your wallet or on your desk, and make it a habit to glance at the edge of each penny. Even if you only spot a hint of blank planchet, it's worth pulling aside and examining more closely under stronger magnification. As you wrap up examining your new finds, remember that proper storage can make or break the value. Acid-free flips, inert plastic holders, or even a collector's album designed for modern coins will preserve luster and prevent edge nicks. Environmental factors like humidity and direct sunlight can accelerate toning or corrosion, which in turn can obscure the very errors that make these pieces special. A lightly toned off-center penny can still be desirable, but uncontrolled toning may raise red flags with grading services and potential buyers. With the 2006 penny's story fully explored, from its unassuming origins in Lantricent to its surprising ascension on the auction block, you're now ready to shift focus to its 2007 counterpart. That issue carries its own set of quirks and marketplace drama, including a dramatically different error profile and fresh auction benchmarks. Up ahead, we'll dissect how a slight change in production process in 2007 created a new class of treasures for the discerning collector. Now, let's turn our attention to the 2007 one-penny variant. A coin that at first glance seems nearly identical to its 2006 predecessor, yet harbors its own suite of rare errors and collectible quirks. In 2007, the Royal Mint tweaked its production workflow, new polishing routines for the dies, and a slightly altered annealing process for the bronze-plated steel planchets. Those seemingly minor adjustments rippled through the minting line and produced error types that had scarcely been seen before on modern British pennies. At the heart of the 2007 story lies the broad strike, error. Normally, a penny planchet is held firmly in a collar during striking, which constrains its metal flow and ensures a uniform rim. In a handful of 2007 strikes, the collar failed to engage, allowing the metal to spread outward unabated. The result is a pancake-flat, slightly oversized disc with a thin, often irregular rim. On one side, you'll see the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II pressed into a broad field of metal that extends beyond the usual boundary. On the other, the portcullis appears faint and flattened, almost ghost-like. These broad-strike pennies are elusive. Production records imply that fewer than 300 escaped detection and entered circulation before quality control teams spotted the collar malfunction. Collectors prize these pieces for their distinctive silhouette. When placed next to a normal penny, the broad strike's diameter can exceed specification by up to 1 millimeter. A small difference to the naked eye, but unmistakable once you know what to look for. If you measure a suspect coin against a standard one and see even the slightest overreach of the design into what should be empty collar space, you may have a genuine broad strike error. Condition plays a massive role here. A crisp broad strike in mint state will show a sharp, well-defined portrait with only minimal softness at the edges where the metal squeezed out. Those softer rims can exhibit flow lines, fine striations radiating from the center that testify to the metal's uncontrolled spread. By contrast, circulated broad strikes often look more like odd tokens. The design is weak, details are smoothed away, and surface marks accumulate along the extended rim. Only mint state examples regularly break the 500-pound mark at auction. Mid-grade pieces tend to settle in the 150 to 300 pounds range. Auction highlights for the 2007 broad strike include a February 2025 sale where a mint state 64-piece commanded 1,350 pounds, driven not only by its flawless surfaces, but also by clear, crisp flow lines around the rim that collectors call textbook broad strike characteristics. Another example, graded negative 55 Australian dollars with moderate bag marks and slight rim nicks, still fetched 420 pounds in December 2024. Those results underscore how the market values both the error degree and the preservation of original surfaces. Beyond broad strikes, a second error variety emerged in 2007, the clipped planchet. Here, a planchet blank was improperly cut from the rolled metal strip, leaving a curved segment missing before the blank ever reached the press. The clipped shape shows as a crescent-shaped void on one side, with a matching raised arc on the reverse. Unlike the off-center 2006 pieces, these clips occur at the blanking stage rather than the striking stage, meaning the design itself is complete, but part of the metal is physically absent. Clipped planchets from 2007 are even rarer than broad strikes. Estimates suggest fewer than 100 made it into circulation. The severity of the clip, the size of the missing segment, dictates collector interest. A small clip of 1 millimeter might attract curious hobbyists, but a dramatic clip of 3 or 4 millimeters can push values north of 2,000 pounds if the surfaces remain unspoiled. In 2023, a clipped planchet penny with a 2 millimeter missing arc sold for 1,800 pounds in a specialized air coin auction in London. Key identifying features for clipped planchets include a smooth, curved missing section that follows the planchet's edge radius. You won't see any die-struck design in that area. Instead, the metal edge is cleanly sheared. On the reverse side, look for a raised, unstruck bar where the blanking punch overlapped. A loop at 10 to 15 power will reveal the planar shear lines and faint burrs from the blanking punch. Those burrs often catch toning differently, so clipped pieces sometimes show a slight color gradient along the cut edge. Interestingly, a few ultra-rare hybrids surfaced, broad strike blanks that had also been clipped. These double error pennies carry both the expanded diameter of a broad strike and the missing arc of a clipped planchet. Only a half dozen or so have been documented, and each resides in a private collection or museum. In early 2024, one such hybrid sold privately for over 3,500 pounds, making it arguably the pinnacle of modern British penny errors. Conditioned tiers apply here as well. A clipped planchet in mint state 63 to 65 will command the highest premiums. At that level, the surfaces retain full brilliance, and the clipped edge shows minimal post-mint damage. In lower grades, negative 50 Australian dollars or VF 30, the clip remains interesting, but wear and contact marks can diminish value by 60 to 70%. Collectors often request high-resolution photographs under raking light to verify that the clip is original and not the result of post-mint damage. Beyond technical details, the 2007 pennies carry human interest stories too. One collector, a retired schoolteacher, discovered a clipped penny in a small change donation box at her local church. She'd initially thought the curved gap was damage from circulation, but after posting images online, experts confirmed it was a genuine clipped planchet. She later donated the coin to a numismatic museum in Manchester, where it's now part of an exhibit on modern mint errors. Another story involves a professional coin grader who found a broad strike in a sealed bank issue roll. The grading company had bought the rolls directly from a Royal Mint years earlier and never fully examined every penny. When the broad strike emerged, the company auctioned it off and used the proceeds to fund a scholarship for numismatic research, a fitting tribute to how even small coins can generate big opportunities. For collectors chasing 2007 errors, recommended strategies include searching unsearched mint sets and business strike bags, as well as monitoring local bankrolls. Because clipped planchets and broad strikes are mechanical in origin, one from the blanking press, the other from the striking collar, they can appear in any packaging format. However, business strike bags meant for circulation tend to yield more fines than pristine mint sets, where quality control is stricter. Proper storage again proves vital. Acid-free holders, especially ones with clear, soft flanges that don't impinge on the expanded rim of a broad strike, are ideal. For clipped planchets, ensure the clip edge is cushioned to prevent further nicks. Label each holder with the error type, estimated degree, millimeters of broad strike or clip, and grade. Detailed provenance, where and when you found the coin, adds narrative weight that can boost auction interest. As the 2007 pennies saga demonstrates, production tweaks and mechanical quirks can transform a routine circulation coin into a prize of numismatic study. Whether you favor the ghostly flattening of the broad strike or the dramatic absence of metal in the clipped planchet, these errors invite both technical appreciation and the thrill of the hunt. In our final segment, we'll bring both coins together, 2000 SIXS off-center marvels and 2007's broad strikes and clips, to understand how modern penny errors fit into the broader world of rare numismatics. We'll explore market trends, collecting strategies, and how to leverage these small but potent pieces to diversify and elevate your collection. Stay tuned for the wrap-up that ties these stories into actionable insights for every serious collector.